All right, everybody. I'm gonna create a video here. We're gonna do a video here. Somebody asked me a question about the importance of beauty versus brains in a relationship. I'm gonna try to make this as succinct as possible. I don't want to ramble and all that kind of stuff, right? So let's get to it. So first and foremost, as you join me for my walk here, is make sure that you hit the like button. That's the most important thing, right? So again, somebody asked me a question about my thoughts about the importance of beauty and brains. Number one, I think it's important because the most important thing is attitude. And by attitude, I'm talking about her demeanor. I'm talking about how she moves and presents in the world. I'm talking about her ability to get along with others, her ability to escalate and de-escalate. That's going to be the most important thing that is anyone can ever come along with and never have on their mind, in my estimation, right? So above beauty is her attitude. And I would take a 5 or 6 and with a great personality, great attitude, great personality, and choose that over a dime. Now, if you choose a dime, right, there's this other idea about that dimes are tough to manage. They're constantly being hit on, so you got to have a good sense of self-worth and good attitude about yourself. If you're going to deal with a woman like that, you got to have a bit of control. You can't be the jealous type, right? And so there's also this other idea about that dimes haven't done the emotional work that's necessary to be productive in society. What do I mean by that? So I'm not saying it's true for every single good-looking person who's a dime, and I'm using dime as kind of 8s, 9s, or 10s, and that's going to be subjective. So an 8, 9, or 10, aka what I'm going to call a dime just to keep it short, by the time they were 14, right, they started to develop, and boys were hitting on them, getting followed around the grocery stores. Guys older than them try to talk to them, buying them stuff. So they haven't had to do any emotional work. And I'm not just the one saying this. Other people have said this. So, and so they haven't done the emotional work that's involved with becoming a productive, well-adjusted human being. They just haven't done the work. So because they haven't had to do it, you know. So other guys have come up to them and just talked to them and this and that and the other and whatever. So you got to be secure in your manhood when you're dealing with a person like that, and be willing to deal with those type of things. The other thing I want you to think about when you're dealing with a woman who is with beauty, again, with the emotional work that they need to do, is it's very important to keep in mind that when we're talking about, raising children, this might seem like a little bit of a detour, but it's important. Obviously we know that fathers are important for the emotional regulation of children. Fathers are important for the emotional regulation of children, but that doesn't mean that the mother is not. And when you in your selection process of dealing with people, right, you gotta figure out which one. Make sure daddy and mommy issues, male and female, males with mommy issues, females with daddy issues, and even females with mommy issues and all that. You got to figure out what kind of relationship that they had with their children. So play a video maybe right here. It's going to kind of help out with this.
So I get into a lot of trouble, particularly with feminist scholars over this. They like to look at male violence and men's attitudes about women and say it's all patriarchy. And I'm not dismissing patriarchy. I'm not dismissing structural racism. But if you really want to understand how some men relate to women in terms of their attitudes and behaviors, you have to go back to their earliest childhood experiences with their mothers. And when we look at the data, particularly in Black communities on child abuse, the data tells us that the majority of the abuse and the fatalities are perpetuated by women. And so if you want to figure out why a man is a misogynist, you've got to go back to those early childhood experiences. And people don't want to have that conversation because then we have to talk about maternal violence and women's complicity in creating the very men who hate us. So I get into a lot of trouble, particularly with.
So you got to figure out what type of relationship they've had, because there is a lot of research demonstrating that the emotional, a mother who's got emotional issues can really have a drastic impact on the psychosocial development of children. So If the mother's emotionally unstable, you might have an emotionally unstable person. So this goes along with that. So adding on to that, what type of relationship they have, you got to have other people to help you vet. And this is why family, the destruction of the family, in particular with African American people, has been so detrimental, and why we have so many issues and problems within our communities, because we have a destroyed, segregated, atomized community and environment. And we need to work on that, develop that, and bring that back to the heights that it once was. Because when you're infatuated with someone, you're a woman infatuated with a dude, you're a man infatuated with a woman, and next thing you know, right, you're not thinking straight, right? You see her big butt, you see his broad shoulders, his square chin, you see his swag, you see her, pretty feet, you see her flowing hair, whatever excites you, thick lips, whatever gets you going, and all you're doing is selecting based on that. You should be able to run that person by other people who you trust, uncles, pastors, aunts, invite them to game nights, things along those lines. You got to be able to do that, because that's important. That's important for for them to know that you have a good family, strong network, number one. And number two, they will be able to tell you things that might not be able to see, because you're in la la land, you're in the daze because of whatever, right? And if you got a guy who you wouldn't feel comfortable bringing this person around, then you know what it is, But this is that's a story for another time, about the brakes being taken off and feminism, and we just want to do what we want, and the benefits or downfalls, however you want to look at it, of child prevention devices and implementations, and et cetera, right? So what have we talked about so far, right? So beauty over brains, right? Attitude's going to be number one, right? To me, attitude's going to be everything. Your attitude, your demeanor, your personality is going to be everything. Number two is going to be, making sure that she is emotionally developed. Three, having run by the family. And all that's going to be important. All that is important. If you are going to be dealing with someone, you're going to have someone in your life, around your children, develop children with them, create children with them, bring children into the world, whatever. That person has to be emotionally stable. And they should come from a good family too. The vetting process not only goes for someone who's for the daters, right? But I mean, you want to bring if you're a man, you want to bring your woman to a game night or to something else. You want your family to check her out, but you ought to be going over to their house and checking them out. Right? This goes both ways, right? You got to make sure that not only they're a good fit in your life, but you're a good fit in their life, right? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to be getting involved with somebody who's, you're getting 2 a.m. calls talking about, cousin Ray Ray's been locked up again. We're going to need some bail money to get him out. That ain't going to be me. That ain't going to be me. So you got to make sure that everything goes both ways. So, speaking of beauty, I came across this video here where a young lady is understanding that guys are real simple creatures, and we just want something that's basic and simple, and we don't need all this makeup. We don't need all these BBLs. We don't need all these lashes. We don't need all this stuff.
Men really like the natural look more than we think. Like when they say men are simple creatures, they meant that. I remember it was times where I just went outside, like no makeup. I didn't even have my lashes on, like my hair was in a little bun. And I got so many compliments. Like I'm thinking in my head, I look a mess. But men, they really actually like it. Like they really prefer the natural look over the wigs, the lashes, like even the BBLs. They still prefer the natural body over the BBL body. And we be doing all that for us because we be in competition with one another. But when it comes to the men don't really care about none of that. They really are like simple creatures. They prefer natural over anything, any day.
So played that video. So yeah, so the importance of beauty, this is really important for the younger people, that they really should be able to understand that. And I think all day long, a guy really should choose, everybody's gonna be different, and I can't tell you what to do, contrary to what people think I'm doing. I'm gonna tell you the best thing that's gonna have a long lasting relationship isn't gonna be the beauty, because the beauty's gonna fade. The beauty's gonna go away. People can get in accidents, right? You might not have money for makeup. But what's going to be most important is going to be the attitude and personality, and all that. So, as well as another thing to select for is their intelligence. Yes, that's important. You don't want someone who's going to bring you down. You're trying to move up, and they don't care about that. They got to be able to solve problems. They got to be able to think on their feet. Sometimes you got to be able to do stuff. You can't have somebody who's going to panic. You can't have someone who's going to panic. You need somebody who's going to be a helpmeet, and help you to be the best version of yourself, help the family make the best decisions of the family, who's going to be wise with their financial decisions, who's going to be on the same path. And if you don't have all that, if you're married just based on looks, and just because you need to support her, keep her in a certain place, in a certain car, in a certain neighborhood, in a certain type of clothing, you're asking for a world of trouble. So you got to have all these conversations. So yeah, you shouldn't be selecting for none of that. Then there's the idea of the alpha fucks, beta bucks. I don't like to swear all the time, so we'll keep it light here. So the alpha, we'll just use bucks for both. The alpha bucks is the guy who's the penny dropper, right? His charm, his swag, his looks are just stunning, and the woman is going to break the rules for her. Whether she has the 3-month rule, 6-month rule, 1-year rule, and marriage rule, this guy is just so gorgeous. You just got to give him the draws, right? So because of this type of guy, he's the alpha, right? He's leadership qualities, charming, all that stuff, right? So then so a woman deals with this guy, breaks the rules, gets pregnant by this guy or two guys, and then next thing you know, she then realizes that he was no good. He didn't have any good fatherly qualities. He might have been a good lay in the bed, but when you stand up, you can't get along. He doesn't have any of the financial good decision making. He's not, his intelligence is questionable. All this other stuff, and so next thing you know, you want to take your kids to the beta. The beta would be the guy with the bucks, with the finances, with the money. So the alpha guy gets to, be the rule breaker for, but the other guy, you got to put to the ringer and make sure that he's doing whatever. So the red pill manosphere space is all telling men to wise up and listen up and not be the beta guy, be the best choice that she can be. Now, whether you understand going in that you're never going to be the alpha, okay, but you can also work on yourself in your beta form and become more alpha, more sigma, and just become the best version of yourself. So that's a whole other story that I've talked about a number of times. But what you don't want to be is the guy who's the standby guy, the guy who's been riding in the friend zone, and then she comes over and brings you her problems. By problems, I mean emotional damage that she had from the previous guy, from the alpha guy, and the kids from somebody else. There's a video that I have, pretty sure I'll be able to play it, of a guy. I don't know why he made this video, right? He made a video talking about he married a woman with 4 kids, been married for 7 years now. What the heck is he making this video for, right? I guess he's talking about patience and this, that, and the other. So he married a woman with 4 kids, with multiple baby daddies. Not just she was married or a guy died or something like that, with 4 kids. No, this woman had multiple kids. So, and you just took this woman and she gave you a kid. Listen, talking about being a beta, and he's lamenting in the video that he made about how his coffee used to cost whatever $5. Now he's spending $45 because you got to buy everybody in the house something. That's the way men think. You got to buy everybody in the house something, or that's the way you should think if you are going to be a stepfather. So why he did this, I don't know. But if you're a young guy, I'll said it before, I'll say it again. If you are a young guy and you don't have any kids, single, and by single I mean not just you're not in a relationship, but you don't have any children. If you are single, and you should not be dealing with a woman with kids. You don't need that stress. I don't care how good she is. I don't care how fine she is. You can find, there's a woman on this planet. Again, stop thinking with your little head because she's beautiful and because she's fine. Stop thinking with your little head because there's a woman just as beautiful, just as gorgeous, just as fine, who would treat you just as good somewhere on the planet. Now, she might not be in your city. She might not be in your DMs. She might not be in your state, but she's around. There's more women on this planet than men. So she's around. So don't operate with this scarcity mindset. So get that out of your head as a young man. Now, if you're in your 50s or 40s or 40 plus, man, you might have to have a woman with kids. But at 40, you can probably at 40, I'm really thirsty. At 40, you can probably find a woman who's in her 20s and still marry her. 45 starts to get a little difficult. 50, my age, starts to get difficult. And I don't want anybody who's young like that. I could not deal with a woman who's in her 20s and 30s because I don't want to be, well, I guess I could, but I really don't want to. Yeah, I couldn't because I don't want to be dealing with the cycles and emotional immaturity and all this. I can't deal with that. So again, I don't care how fine you are. I gotta have emotional stability. I gotta have even temperedness. I like a woman who has something going on for herself. I can't deal with all that. So but for me and my age, I gotta have somebody whose kids are grown, 16, 17, 18 and up. I prefer in college or whatever, but we'll see. So that's just what I want to kind of deal with and talk about. If it's looks or brains or beauty, you got to go for the brains all day. Now, I do agree that you got to be sexually attracted to her. There's a friend of mine who's a therapist who gave me some horrible advice one time. Not in therapy session or anything. We was just kind of talking. And this brother was like, listen, man, it don't matter what she look like, man. Just get her attitude and personality. I'm not going to follow that advice because I got to be sexually attracted. I got to be sexually attracted to you. So, and the hierarchy, I would say it's got to be, beauty. And then second is going to be her attitude and her brains, and all that. So, and then, emotional stability has got to be in there too, because, what's her family like and all that. Those are different things you got to select for. And again, like I said before, you got to have somebody helping you with that process. You might be infatuated because of his broad shoulders or because of her butt or because of her breasts, whatever you like. And when the rubber hits the road, you start living together. I saw a brother who was himself a passport bro. He talked about marrying a Filipina. And everything was good. Everything was good with the Filipina that he married. And of course, he made the big mistake of bringing her back to the U.S. And next thing you know, she's hanging out at bars and this, that, and the other. Because over there, or wherever you get a girl like that from, they don't think that they're beautiful, right? They just think they're one of the average ones, right? You bring them over here where they're more exotic. They're getting hit on left and right, and they can't take it, right? So she's hanging out at clubs and bars and this, that, and the other. And he admitted that. I should have left her there and all that. So I'm bringing back here if you're a passport, bro. So listen, yeah. So her beauty and all that was important, or he selected on that. He selected on her beauty, did whatever they did, and the next thing you know, when he brings her back here, they start living together. They can't get along, right? She got to have the best of the best. She got to have this kind of. He said he was working overtime just to keep her in a type of lifestyle. Can't deal with that, brother. Can't deal with that, man. So you got to be on all clicks and all cylinders all the way around, from how you treat finances to how you want to raise children to how you do housework to how you just see the world. I made a video that's going to be on my members only channel. If you're not a member, check it out. or join, but I made a video talking about, can you be pro-black and still be in this, and still be this way, right? And part of the problem that I have with the, can you be pro-black and date outside your race? So part of the problem that I have with that sentiment, or in particular women, black women in particular, who date white guys, is, you know, they're willing to change. There are numerous videos out there talking about, you can't be mean, you can't be late, you can't be, your hair, your makeup, this, that, and the other. You got to go to the gym. But if you can get yourself together and change your attitude, not be mean to this man, not be cursing him out, why can't you do that for black men? Totally different conversation. Check out the other video. I elaborate a lot more. So anyway, those are things you got to think about when you're dating in this day and time. Her beauty, and that's going to be a differential standard for everyone. Kevin Samuels, used to say that Rihanna was a 10, Beyonce was a 8, and Kelly Rowland was a 9. I think that's how we went. Beyonce 8, Kelly Rowland was a 9. I think Rihanna was a 10. I don't agree with that assessment at all. I think Beyonce, I'm talking about fresh face, no makeup, straight out the shower. I think Beyonce, I think they're all probably 8s or so. I got to think about that. None of them with any makeup on. They're probably all, I don't think Rihanna's all that pretty, in all honesty. I don't think Rihanna's that pretty. She's more like a 5. Kelly Rowland's definitely, if you look at her without any makeup on, it's probably a 9 or 10. Beyonce's a beautiful woman too. Yeah, so they're probably 8s or 9s or 10s. I don't know, whatever. Maybe a day a week, but also what boosts in my mind, with no makeup, women are all the same. I mean, obviously there's some that look better than others, but this girl's a 10, or this girl's a 9. I can't really tell the difference with no makeup. But what really boosts you up, so I would give them all like 8, 7 or 8s. But what really makes you fine to me is body, right? So fine to me is your body, everything else, right? So if you got nice, well manicured fingers and toes, and your shape, that's what makes you a 10 in my book. So I'm going to hold to that. I don't care what everybody else thinks. So that's what I'm going to hold to. But again, like I said, you get the most beautiful woman who's got all the shape and got the other aesthetics, and her attitude is nasty, or she hasn't done the emotional development or work because, again, like I said before, she hasn't had to, or she grew up in a household that was dysfunctional. Can't deal with that. Right? So I hope I said something that was going to help people to really become better selective in their mate strategies. You should not just be selecting based on beauty alone. You should also include other people in your help to make decisions. Looking at their personalities, their demeanors, and making sure that you're on the same alignment as far as living in a home. As I told you about the guy who was so enamored by this Filipina, went over there talking to her every day on the phone, a couple of hours. This is what he said. I don't know if I'll be able to find the video. Actually, I think I might be able to find it. He said it. He's like, we had long conversations, this and that and the other. But when we got to living together, everything was different. And then, I started having problems because he couldn't keep up the lifestyle. And the next thing you know, she's going to the bars and clubs and hanging out. And, in marriage and everything was over. So there's a lot to consider. And, I make this content not to tell men what to do, but not to tell you what to do, what to do, but I want to tell you what not to do and how you should be thinking. I'm not a relationship expert or guru. You're talking to, I'm a guy who's been through it, and I want to help other guys not go through the stuff that we've gone through. And, sometimes it seems like we're, the voice of somebody crying in the wilderness, or we're trying to empty out the ocean with a bucket. Because people are going to do what they're going to do. I made mistakes. I didn't listen. I was young and dumb. just like everybody else. But if you can do it, if you can learn from my mistakes, a smart person will learn from their mistakes, but a wise person will learn from the mistakes of others. And if you can listen to this old man, not that I'm old, but this older man, if you can listen and really understand, the complexities of life before you take on a life-altering decisions. That marriage to that guy that I told you about, to the Filipino, was a life-altering decision. Now he has a baby with a woman who's, I forget the story. I think he said that she's now living in Norway with some Norwegian guy or something. Or the guy I told you about with the 4 kids who made the video. I don't know why he made the video, but if you can learn from those types of mistakes and learn from my own mistakes and just become a better person, better version, work on yourself and look at yourself and do a better vetting process that we didn't do. That guy from the Philippines, I'm sure that he was from America. I think it was from North or South Dakota. And and I'm really thirsty. He was from that place, and from North Dakota, and he more than likely wasn't listening to his boys to tell him, listen, man, you don't need to marry this girl or whatever. You don't need to do that. Or you can listen to family and friends, get them involved. If you can do that kind of thing, you got to listen. People are going to try to tell you, this is it, this ain't it. You got to invite them to cookouts and other parties, events. You got to do it and listen to what they're saying. Of course, they have to be respectable, and you have to respect them, and their opinions and all that. And so, it's complicated and tough to make these types of decisions. But what you cannot and should not do is just be guided by the fact that you have, that this person is beautiful in whatever way that you deem them to be beautiful. And you got to be selective about that. So, all right. So I just wanted to drop this and let me know your thoughts, your opinions. I hope I said something that's going to resonate with you all and help you all in your decision-making process. So let me know your thoughts, your opinions. Hit me in the comment section. If there's anything else you want me to talk about, make sure you hit me in either the comment section, or you can hit me on the email, which is in every single description video. Join the members ownership channel, members only, and we get some videos about them. Take care of yourselves. Much love and peace.